Hello guys. So before I dive too far into the juicy tea of having unsafe sex with HIV, I wanted to talk about some of the incidences that happened when I was still a child because I feel like they um, really had a lot to do in shaping who I became later on. Um, There's this one incident that I want to talk about that happened in sixth grade, Mrs. Murphy's class at Hunt School. Um, so, um, Pretty much my whole life, I've always been kind of good at school without trying. For me, it was an escape from my toxic home life. So I loved going to school. I loved the quietness of it, keeping everyone quiet while the teacher talks. That was great. I loved learning new things. I remember in first grade, one of my teachers, she would, every time we took a test, she would like set me away from the class or my friend because I would always let her look at my answers. Um, so I guess that's kind of when I found out I was a little bit smarter than some of the people around me. I thought that was funny. But I've always loved school, always been good at it, really without trying. I mean, I do try, I do study and stuff, but I just love it. And I didn't have to try to love it. So in sixth grade, I remember I always used to get 100% on my spelling test. I would go home and I would practice and practice. I would write them 10 times and then I would test myself. With having my mom being uneducated, it was hard to, she couldn't really help me with a whole lot of homework. She couldn't say big words and things like that. So it was all up to me to do the studying. So I remember like halfway through the year, I went from getting 100% on all my tests to getting answers wrong. And nothing changed about the way that I studied or anything like that. And it was just kind of weird. Like I would study harder and I would still get answers wrong. The teacher would collect our tests and she wouldn't give them back. So I couldn't go home and check with my spelling list to see if the word was actually spelled right or wrong. So I was kind of suspicious that she was marking my answers wrong. So one time I cheated on my test. I put my spelling list in between my legs and I cheated. Because, bitch, what is you doing? Marking my answers wrong? Anyways, after I cheated, I knew this test should be 100%, and it wasn't. So I walked right up to her desk and I said, you marked these wrong when they're right. She was not happy about that. She was not happy that I caught on to it. I had to cheat just to catch on to it. So I think after that, she wasn't marking any more answers wrong that I didn't get wrong. And she always used to say this thing like, you can catch the first thing running, talking about like kids that didn't seek her approval in every which way, because she would have like a separate group of favorite kids that she would take out to get ice cream after school in her car. And me, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna sprint to catch the first thing running because I do not want to get in a car with you, you fucking cheater. No, thank you. No, thank y'all. So yeah, that was one incident that happened in school, and it was at this point that like I almost became disinterested in school. Luckily, when I got to seventh grade, I had a seventh grade English teacher that cared a whole lot. I remember we were reading The Diary of Anne Frank, and I thought this book was so boring. I did not want to read about a girl stuck in a closet. No, thank you. But she begged and she pleaded with me to go home and research the Holocaust. So I remember I did. We were never able to use the computer at home, but I asked my stepdad, like, I need to look this up for school, and he let me, surprisingly. So I sat there for several hours looking at pictures of like, all the shoes in one big pile and the gas chambers, and I just cried. learning all that information. And after that, I paid every bit of attention in school. I read the book, I did the assignments, and I pretty much got back on track. And I don't want to name names of people who've done me dirty, like Miss Murphy, just because. But the only reason why I named her is because I was a child. Like, it's one thing if I'm 18 and I'm super annoying and you want to bully me or teach me a lesson. Yeah, that's okay. But the fact that I was a kid and she was doing this, really weird. Really weird. Shout out to that 7th grade teacher, English teacher. I don't know her name. She had like short spiky hair. I would like to know her name. So like if any of you guys had her, let me know. I want to give her a proper shout out. But you know, she was a lifesaver, getting me back into schooling and doing what I needed to do. So, you know, even though this incident was kind of messed up, as I got older and I experienced more things, I grew to appreciate it because it taught me how racism can be performed behind closed doors. You know, everyone's always like, oh, racism isn't real. I don't see it. I never seen it. It doesn't exist. It must not exist. And it's like, no, you know, a racist person isn't going to be racist in front of a bunch of other people because it's illegal. So they're going to do it behind closed doors in sneaky little ways where other people can't find out. So, you know, I'm sure a lot of kids of color experience that where they would just try really hard in school. They wanted to make it out and teachers were making life difficult for them, whether it be teachers, doctors, someone in the court. There are racist people out there, and they'll do their best to ruin someone's life that they feel inferior to. So I became really grateful for this experience just because it kind of taught me how racism can be performed, not out in the open. Because, you know, my parents was uneducated. I couldn't take this problem home to them and say, hey, what's going on? You know, so I pretty much had to deal with that on my own. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna cheat today. I'm gonna get these answers right today. We're gonna find out who's lying now. So yeah, I cheated and I figured out she was marking my answers wrong. And it was like, bitch, what? So yeah, there was that experience. Let's see, what else? There was, so that kind of contributed towards my views on racism and things like that. And it's backed up by another incident that happened when I was like 11 or 12. I lived on Franklin Street right here in the ghetto in Jackson, Michigan. And I remember one day I heard a bunch of commotion outside my bedroom window. So I went and looked outside. I seen this black guy running around the corner. And then a couple seconds later, a group of cops were chasing him. And he dropped to his knees and surrendered, put his hands up. And the cops came and they beat the fuck out of him still. They beat the shit out of him. He wasn't even fighting back. It was like 5 cops just beating him. And I was just watching. I was horrified. I was in shock. I couldn't move from the window. The one black officer, he noticed me and he tried to tell me, go away, get back. And I'm like, I couldn't move. I was shocked. And after I wouldn't move, he tried to get the other officers to stop and notice me. And eventually, you know, they stopped beating on him and they put him in handcuffs. But that incident also showed me exactly what happens when it comes to people of color and the police. So that kind of helped shape my views on racism as well. So another unrelated incident, a couple unrelated incidents that also happened in my childhood that would help develop me into what I am today. So there was this one time my mom was getting me dressed for school, and she tried to put those sweatpants on me with the straps on the foot. And I was not having it. I was not happy. For one, like, they felt weird. It would pull my pants down. And sweatpants are ugly. And I think it was kind of like the autism in me. I didn't want those straps on my feet. So I threw a little tantrum. I just slammed my head back. I ended up busting the back of my head open. And let's just say I didn't have to wear those sweatpants to school that day. I had to go get staples in my head. So like that's one of the experiences that I look back on and I'm like, was it autism? I think so. So there's this other experience I want to talk about. So my stepdad, he was kind of like into like torturous punishments for us kids. He would like make the kids eat sauerkraut, or he would make them like hold up jugs for punishment. And there was one time he made them eat spaghetti or something in the back room, like in the basement back area. He made them eat spaghetti off the floor like dogs. And I was like probably 6 or 7. I wanted, it looked fun to me. I was a child. I'm like, let me do it. I want to eat off the floor like a doggy. And he was like, no. And he brought me into the other room. And throughout my childhood, I feel like I was spoiled just a little bit more. I was given a little bit more attention. It could have been because of the HIV. But these, like, my stepdad would let me eat his Debbie snacks and he wouldn't give the other kids any. It was just little stuff like that. That I feel like it kind of garnered this hatred from my siblings and my cousin who lived with me as well. They kind of hated me because I wasn't as severely punished as them. But the fact that I was a child and I still had to sit there and look at them being abused like that, that will affect someone almost just as much as the actual abuse itself, especially when you're young and you love these people and you can't stop it. You know, so yeah, I feel like incidences like that kind of drew my brother and sister and my cousin away from me because they thought I was spoiled and I didn't deserve that special treatment. And I feel like, okay, that's probably all I'm going to say on that one. So yeah, with some of the incidences from my childhood, I feel like just looking back, these are some of the things that help shaped, you know, how I view the world, how I view racism, and how I view like autism. I know that I have autism. I spent too much time researching it as like a special interest for a whole year. So the autism, I feel like it played a huge role in how I was able to talk about the HIV with people. It's almost like a verbal freeze or something. Like I couldn't talk about some of the most important things that meant the most to me. I remember one time I was in a parking lot with one of my friends and I seen a car getting ready to back up into her car, and like I was frozen in shock and like almost like kind of a fear. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't warn her. I think I ended up just like tapping her, but I couldn't say what I needed to say for her to honk her horn or say something. So it's kind of like that freeze response that I have a lot, which contributed to me not really being able to talk to people about the HIV early on, and not having an adult there or even people my age to kind of help me talk through it, put me through different scenarios and just see how I would talk about things. There was one time I had one friend talk about it with me, but the only thing she talked about, she was like, well, how does it feel? Do you feel different inside? I'm like, no, sometimes I feel more tired than usual. I just feel a little bit tired, but it doesn't really make me feel any different. And that was the only conversation I ever had with someone about HIV. All of the other conversations, they were had behind my back when I wasn't in the room. It would have been nice to have an adult or a friend to sit down and talk with me about being safe and things like that. So that's a little bit from my past and my childhood to kind of give you an idea of where I came from. I guess I'm trying to get out the gutter or something. I don't know. I'm not doing too bad. You know, I'm working kind of hard. I got some stuff here. Got some sheriff. So yeah, let me know what you think.